I'm ready to spring into action, pun intended. Last night, there was a crazy thunderstorm that hit us, which I feel like I don't remember thunderstorms like this in March at all. My kids and I were in the living room, my husband was in the kitchen, and we were all kind of excited, like, oh, there's lightning, there's thunder, and all of that, because we've got a 3-year-old and it's all kind of new to him. And then all of a sudden, a huge bolt of lightning strikes, I am not kidding, the back porch. I visually see it. There was no thunder or anything like that afterwards. It was just an immediate pop, very loud pop, and it was like purple. It wasn't even white. So, and we all could like literally feel the power of what just happened to us. Everybody's okay, but our internet, it was fried. We've got the internet people out this morning, and I'm actually not quite sure what else has been damaged in the house. We could literally smell like burning plastic happening after that lightning bolt struck down. So that was kind of freaky and everything. I don't think we've ever had our house struck that close, which also leads me to believe that the weather patterns are so much advanced, I feel, this year versus last year. The weather makes me feel like we're almost in the month of April or May. It does not feel like March right now. We're having super heavy rains forecasted over the next week. We're having really warm temperatures over the next week too. So that just tells me it's time to get these tomato sprouts in the ground. They're definitely big enough. They're definitely healthy enough. I had really good germination with these particular tomato starts, and I'm gonna get this sunflower wall started today. So we've got a whole lot to get to. I'm really excited to document this because this spring I've just got like a whole vision, and I think the whole, like, from where we're starting to where I'm envisioning it ending is going to be something that's really magnificent. I'm standing here at the new tomato garden. It's basically just 4 rows, mounds of compost on top of a bunch of mulch. I think it's about probably like close to 6 inches of mulch. And then once I get all of the tomato plants planted in the ground, I'm going to cover these mounds with a layer of mulch to, first of all, lock in moisture and also help prevent and manage weed control. We do a no-dig, no-till garden. Over here is the first one that we ever did. And as you can see, I'm doing a whole new layer of mulch as we speak. I'm coming out here and doing like 8 to 10 wheelbarrow fulls of mulch at a time, and then I call it a day. So don't want to overwork myself too much, but I am coming out here every day or so now and just kind of chipping away at it. And my husband is at, like, whenever he's able to. So I do feel good about the progress that we've made. Last year this was fantastic. The weed management was so manageable. It was awesome, and we have really healthy soil as a result. So that's why we're continuing to expand this method into the front area where the tomatoes are going to be. Then we also have another patch over there that we have expanded. So I'm gonna get the tomatoes planted out. This is definitely kind of a mess because my little popsicle sticks have started moving all over the place in these particular soil blocks because I'm doing soil blocking. So I'm trying to rearrange to the best of my knowledge where these popsicle sticks were. It did turn into a little bit of a mud pie because of the torrential downpours. That really is no problem because I'm actually pretty skilled with pulling the plants apart. I don't really find it to be that much of an issue. You just have to be super gentle, make sure that you're not like ripping the roots. But if you're kind of pulling the plants apart, if they get a little bit entangled, I find that the plants are pretty resilient to that until they get to a certain point. If they're about, 8 weeks old or so, I definitely would not mess around with pulling and separating multiple starts that have started next to each other. But if it is still at like the 4-week or so mark, they're gonna bounce back from that pretty successfully. So I want to keep everything as organized as possible, and I'm trying to find my San Marzano, oh, right here. So I'm going to plant out these ones first in one area, and then I'm going to keep all of the sauce tomatoes together. Then I'm going to move on to keeping the beefsteak tomato varieties together, the larger ones, and then so on and so forth. I have a very bad habit of overcrowding my tomato plants. I just cannot help it when I get, you know, all of these sprouts, and it's like a shame to not plant them. But this year I've told myself to not overcrowd them. I'm gonna give them about a 4-foot width in between each, or about a 3-foot width in between each plant. I just wanted to take a quick moment to say thank you if you end up hitting the like button. I so appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos like this, more homesteading content and saucing preservation videos coming up, definitely consider subscribing for more. That whole first row is San Marzano tomatoes, which is like a saucing tomato. Row number 2, I'm doing the mortgage lifter tomatoes. I'm gonna do a total of 3 of them. There's so many tomatoes, it's crazy. Next to the mortgage lifter, I'm doing the Brandywine tomatoes. Let's see, I've got the brown sugar tomatoes, mushroom basket. So I'm gonna keep the mushroom basket in here with the Brandywine. So I'm actually gonna move the Brandywines. I'm gonna do all of the big beefsteak ones at this back row and just keep them all together. I'm also growing a lot of other things, including the pineapple tomatoes and the tigerella tomatoes. Drop a comment and let me know what tomatoes you're growing this year. The Brandywine tomato, followed by the mushroom basket, then the old German, and now I'm doing the Homestead tomatoes right here. Just gonna do 2 of the Homestead. These are the brown sugar tomatoes. I'm going to, some of these I'm actually just giving like a 2-foot distance in between each plant, but it's a lot more distance than last year. Last year I was giving some of these like just a few inches in between each plant. So, you know, I'm hoping it'll still be okay. Tomatoes are going to thrive in well-drained soil, but they also will require a good amount of watering. Also, be sure to plant them in a place that gets anywhere from 8 to 10 hours of sun per day. All of the tomatoes have been planted. There's actually about 5 or 6 left in the actual seed starting tray that I didn't have room for, and I really wanted to this year challenge myself to not overcrowd the tomatoes. I have never had the ability to just like withstand the temptation of overcrowding the tomatoes. So, and I probably still even overcrowd them a little bit, but this year I'm not doing it. The only ones that are still left to be planted are my spoon tomatoes, which I will not be planting those in the big beds because first of all, they're kind of hard to harvest because they're very plentiful. If you don't harvest them on time, they fall into the ground, and then you have like a million spoon tomato seeds, and that's kind of always going to reseed itself in that particular area. So I'm going to be planting those in little pots later. Now it's time to get the sunflower wall planted. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Before I hear it in the comments, I know some of those rows are a little bit close together, closer than I ideally would have liked them to be, but it's fine. We're gonna make it work, you know. And what I'm going to do as far as trellises is move those cattle panel walls that are right there. I'm gonna move 2 of them into 2 of the rows. We need to buy 2 more, and that's going to be our trellis, is the cattle panel walls. They're super structural. They will stand up to hurricanes. They'll stand up to like literally anything. So I'm going to be putting those there, and I'm not going to worry about those today because I need help from my husband. And we've got at least a week or 2 before those tomato plants are going to need trellising. Actually, we might even have a little bit longer than that. So I told myself today to only grab a few seeds, and I did go a little bit crazy. I just wanted to be more prepared than underprepared in the case that I was out here and I had more time to start planting, direct sowing things. But no matter what, the biggest things I want to get accomplished are getting my sunflower wall underway. So I use this crazy mix I have really great success. I've been using it for a few seasons now, and awesome germination. I've already planted a bunch of them in the front 2 beds at the back with poppies at the front. So it's going to be really fantastic once those poppies start to grow in, and once the sunflowers at the back start to grow in too. My other biggest thing I'm the most excited, I'm so excited about this, is these giant sunflowers. Now they get to be about 16 to 18 inches across, the actual heads of the sunflowers, and they're about 14 feet tall. So I'm going to plant a good amount of them at the back, and like basically the whole L shape, because I'm going to do a sunflower wall kind of encapsulating the garden. And I'm also going to do some of the smaller ones in between, and some poppies plugged in. So it's just going to be hopefully like a wall of flowers in general, but I'm hoping that these will just be like these stunning, huge, giant flowers that almost look out of place in the garden and are just really eye-catching. So I have seen people grow these mega sunflowers before, but I usually only see a handful of them grown at one time. So I am using a whole seed pack of these mega huge sunflowers. I think it's going to be just an incredible look. I'm finishing off the soil needed for the sunflower wall by adding just a little bit of compost with my wheelbarrow, and then I'm going to direct sow. Okay, I need to get some water and rest for a second before I start planting, but there is the L. It's gonna go all the way back there, curl around to the front. So let's get the seeds in the ground. This is the most crazy person, paranoid thing you're ever gonna hear me say. But I swear, and I've been saying this for years, that when you're planting seeds, especially sunflower seeds, the birds watch you, and I try to be really sneaky and like hold my hand when I'm putting the seeds in the ground, because they will come back, and I've seen them pick the sunflower seeds out of the ground. I know it sounds a little crazy and paranoid, but it happens. And there is a crow up there, and I think it's telling its crow friends, hey, she's doing something, and we're gonna come back when she leaves. Now I don't know how deep to plant these giant sunflowers. I think they're the Mongolian sunflowers, because the actual seed itself is 1 inch. So I'm putting them about 2 inches deep in the soil. Hopefully I'm not putting them too deep. Some of them I'll do maybe a little bit less than that to just kind of trial and error, see what works. In most cases, you should see germination for sunflower seeds in 5 to 7 days. I'm going to plant poppies down the line, down the L shape, because I just have a bunch of extras. I'm so anxious to see it come to fruition. Now these are done in soil blocks. This is my first year doing soil blocks, and I will probably never go back to your traditional, you know, it's just much easier for me. I'm a messy gardener, and it's kind of messy, but also I think it's much easier too. Now we're still in the process of extending our garden rows. I'm going to continue this flower wall even further, but I wanted to just get this part planted out because it was ready to be planted out. So it's gonna be even larger than what you're seeing here. Holy cow, all of that squatting and direct seed sowing was a lot of work, but we've got all the tomatoes planted, and we've got the flower wall. It's underway. I'm probably going to go back and actually put some zinnias there too as well. I just want it to be just loaded with flowers, like a privacy wall almost. Just so many flowers you can't even see through it. I told myself, I was like, okay, after this you're going to go inside. Then I remembered, no, you're gonna plant out these 2 beds and get your loofah seeds in the ground. So these are like a mix of seeds my mom gave me. It's some gondole seeds, which I do plan on planting, but definitely not in the garden. That's more like almost like a tree. It's like a big bush, and that's gonna be in like a permanent type area. And then she also gave me some loofah seeds. Here are the loofah seeds. So my goal is to plant at least, I mean, enough sponges for at least like half the year. So, I mean, I've never done this before. I've never grown loofahs. I've never harvested them or gone through any of that process. I want to be as sustainable as possible. I think, you know, most people do. And I'd love to grow our sponges. Like, you can use these for the bath, you can use these for the kitchen, you can use these for all of that. Save money, and also you're using a more organic product. I just dropped a seed. I have no idea where that seed went. It's just, you know, we're just gonna have a random loofah plant right here. So I'm gonna get the loofah plants in the ground because I want them to be canopying over as you walk in. This is my rose bushes. This is going to be a flower bed just moving forward, but I'm going to seasonally grow crops that vine to trellis over the opening, just cattle panel trellis. I don't know if these roses are going to vine all the way over, so I'm gonna start planting different things here. I'm gonna start out with the loofahs. Loofah seeds are a larger seed, so I would treat them like you would a sunflower, put them in the ground about 1 inch, and really you would only need 1 or 2 plants on this side, but I'm gonna do 4 and then thin it out later if needed. I'm sorry about the lighting because it's really overcast today, so apologize ahead of time. But I have these 2 beds right here that I just did a really heavy layer of mulch followed by a heavy layer of mushroom compost on top to prepare the beds. Now, I didn't go through the whole process of individually pulling each weed because I do no dig, no till, and mostly that's because it honestly makes your life so much easier as opposed to sitting there and pulling like 50 individual weeds. I just dump a really heavy amount of mulch on top, and it generally does the job suffocating those weeds. So I would personally rather fill up a whole wheelbarrow than to sit there and go through like the tedious task of weed pulling. So we're gonna figure out together what I am planting out in those beds. I picked some, oh gosh, some of my Thai basil. Oh no! It got all over the place. At least I know it's Thai basil. I knew just by looking at it. It's the only basil seed that I had. So what I'm thinking in those front beds is Swiss chard, dill. I like to try to keep my herbs towards the front of the garden because it's just easier access when I'm running out to cook. I'm gonna do some Thai basil. I'm gonna plant out some muncher cucumbers. If you are in a warmer climate, such as, you know, Florida, zone 8, zone 9, I would definitely recommend get your cucumbers or any type of sensitive crops started now. That way you can have more time to take advantage of that harvest before those more aggressive pests take control. It will inevitably happen, and if you're trying to garden organically, growing some of these crops are really difficult in the summertime. And the spring, I've had really great success growing any type of cucumbers and any type of zucchini. So I'm gonna put some zucchini in those beds as well because I put zucchini in these particular beds. I put squash in these beds last spring, and you'll want to constantly be rotating your squash crops. You don't want to plant them in the same beds every year because of those squash vine borers. If they laid their seeds in that particular bed the last year, or if they laid their eggs in that bed, then they're going to come out of their dormant state in about anywhere from May through July and destroy your squash plants. So it is best to rotate those specific crops, and honestly all of your crops. So this year I'm gonna have some different plans for this bed, and I'm not quite sure what that will be. Maybe more beans. I know I just said that it's important to rotate your crops, but I am planting muncher cucumbers back here again because they just thrived here. They did so well. Now, if you don't enjoy the taste of dill, it is certainly a must-have though still to grow in your garden because it attracts many beneficial insects, as well as pollinators absolutely love dill. Bees and different caterpillars. It is like a home for those particular insects. I plant a good amount over here and it does really well. And we also really enjoy cooking with dill and you know, adding it to a variety of different recipes. Grow yourself some dill. Your garden will thank you. Now I'm planting Swiss chard in the middle part of this garden, or of this bed. So it's gonna be dill right here, muncher cucumber right there, which I just put two and two together. Of course, dill and cucumbers, come on, they go together like ketchup and mustard. With the Swiss chard, you'll want to put the seeds about a ½ inch or so into the ground. They're one of the easiest, I think, like leafy greens to direct sow because the seeds are much bigger. They're really similar to beet seeds. They're all spiky. And I'm going to plant these about 8 inches apart in about like 8-inch squares. I haven't grown the Italian striped zucchini. I attempted to in the fall, and I did have some plants like grow into little plants, but it didn't produce anything. So I'm interested to see what these are going to be like. You really need like a lot of spacing, I would say. You need a lot of spacing with zucchini plants. You want them to have a proper amount of aeration. So I'm only planting, I'm gonna plant out 6, but then remove 2 later and just have 4 in here. That way there is proper airflow and it's not being overcrowded. These particular seeds you'll want to do about 1 inch into the soil and then just lightly cover them up. My favorite zucchini that I grew last year is the gray zucchini, which was actually a big surprise for me because I thought that was just kind of, you know, it says it's gray and not going to taste very good, but it was really sweet. So I do plan on growing more gray zucchini in the other beds. I'm so happy I was able to get out here with you guys today and get these plants and the seeds in the ground. I definitely don't feel quite as overwhelmed or behind the ball anymore. Now I know, you know, I can just sit back and watch the beauty that's going to grow. And these flowers that are going to start just giving us so much joy every single day. We've got beds that are planted out and everything, so I definitely feel like I'm in a better place. And you know, this guy's coming along too. I'm gonna harvest these carrots. I've got some plans for those carrots coming up here too. I'm gonna do some videos on that. And we're just gonna chip away at it one day at a time. It's not gonna be a whole like everything's ready to go and plant out at one time. I'm gonna have to just keep coming out here and doing more sessions, but we're in a good place and I'm ready for spring to just fully kick in. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you watched all the way through, thank you so much. And definitely be sure to hit the like button because that really helps me a lot and I appreciate your guys' support. My name is Shelby again, and definitely subscribe if you don't want to miss all the fantastic things that are about to happen. Bye.